Many of you I've met already. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Frankel, the site lead here at the Amgen Capability Center. So what we do is three things: information systems, employee services, and finance and accounting for Amgen. Some of the processes are global, and some of the processes are local. So I first want to thank everyone for joining us today. There is a lot going on in Tallahassee and Washington, and I especially want to thank Mayor Bob Buckhorn, Judy Brown, our SVP of Finance and GBS, and Mike Zahegan, the Chief Information Officer of Amgen, for making the trip. All are going to come up and say a few words, and they've helped pave the way for our success here today. I also want to thank the Tampa EDC and the Chamber for helping us put on this event. From my perspective, these ribbon cuttings serve two purposes. The first is to thank everyone for the hard work and dedication, kind of looking back at everything that went into making the center a reality. And the second is to mark a milestone for what's to come ahead. So overall, the program today will have the mayor please come up and say a few words. Then Mike will speak about Amgen's past and Judy on Amgen's present. And then we'll close the session with some tours. We'd like you to meet the folks, walk around, talk to the team. We've been busy here in the last 7 months. So without further ado, I'd like to invite the mayor to come up and say a few words.
It's been a good couple days. This is an amazing way to start off this particular week. This announcement. It has been a long time coming. This was a journey that we started down this path with Amgen, what, a year and a half ago, a year ago? And I will tell you, when I think about the future of this community, and I think about the jobs that will be created and the types of companies that we will attract and creating that biopharma cluster here in the Bay Area, Amgen is a huge part of it. And when they had the confidence in us and they believed in us, after doing a lot of research in terms of the cities that fit their needs, and they made the decision that they were coming to Tampa, that for us was a validation of everything that we've been doing over the last 6, 7, 8 years. The journey that we have been on as a city, coming out of the worst recession since the Great Depression, to rise out of the ashes like a phoenix and become that place in America where the best and the brightest want to be. To know that we can attract companies like Amgen here to be a part of this place that we call Tampa. To know that moving forward, as they continue to expand and continue to grow, and we continue to attract other companies to come here to create the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. To know that millennials and intellectual capital are coming here to be a part of this amazing place that we call Tampa. That's why we get up every day to do what we do. This is a partnership. This is about growing our economy. It's about growing this company. It's about putting a stake in the ground that says Tampa doesn't ask anybody's permission anymore. This place has yet to write its last chapter. But I will tell you this, when they write that book of Tampa, there will be a chapter about Amgen and the decision of this company to believe in us the way we believe in ourselves. This is exciting. This is what our next iteration looks like. Companies like this, talent like this, employee base that's ready to grow and to prosper, creating that cluster that will drive this economy for decades to come. We thank you for believing in us. We've said it for a long time. This is Tampa's time. Amgen, thank you.
Good morning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our history as a company. I'm Mike Zahegan. I'm a Chief Information Officer of Amgen, and I've been at Amgen for about 16 and a half years. So Amgen is a 38-year-old company now. So I want to take you back in time for just a couple minutes. In 1980, Amgen was really started. So what was going on in 1980? Ronald Reagan was our president. around this time of year, the Miracle on Ice was happening. So if you remember, the U.S. doing something extraordinary on the ice, and the Dow was trying to get to 1,000. So, that kind of sets the stage for where Amgen came from. And from the very beginning, we were all about science. So I think we sometimes lose sight of how extraordinary it was, the founding of the industry that we're in, this biotechnology era. It forever changed the way healthcare works. Prior to that, it was all about, we call small molecules and pills, and those things are very limited in the diseases they can address. So in 1983, we had two really important things happen for us. One is we became public as a company. I wish I owned shares at that time. It was 12 million shares at $16 a share. So we were a $32 million market cap, roughly. Now 145 billion or something, right? The second important thing that happened in 1983 is a scientist from Taiwan named Fuku Lin did the first, in a very difficult way at the time, we didn't have genetic sequencing and things the way we do now, identified the gene that's responsible for erythropoietin in production in our bodies, which is, think of red blood cell production. And not only identified it, but figured out how to clone that. And ultimately, that became Epogen, which is really the product that started the company. It took about 6 more years, though, for the FDA to approve that, and it tells you a little bit about our industry. It's an industry that's heavy on research, but the cycle times are extraordinarily long. So in 1989, Epogen was approved. Neupogen followed on that. And what these two products did is for people that had anemia, that were challenged by dialysis, Epogen helped them. For people that were challenged with cancer, it was not a cancer treatment itself, but Neupogen became the white blood cell engine that enabled them to stay on chemotherapy, which really started to bend the curve when it comes to cancer in the early 1990s. 1996 was important. So by this time, Amgen was already producing a lot of product. We were way north of $1 billion of sales. And we were becoming kind of a company that was already international, but we were trying to grow to the next level. And we had a CEO named Gordon Binder. And one of the things he did is really set the stage for the culture that we have today. And the way he did that is we established our mission and our values. So I want to talk about this for a couple minutes. I think as a company, our mission is to serve patients. Today, we serve millions of patients. From that time in 1980 and 83, we have served tens of millions in that time. And what's remarkable to me, having been here 16 and a half years, is how real the mission and the values really are. We talk about it all the time. We talk about what are we doing how will this support patients, this activity? I run the information systems group, and we talk about it a lot. Not just the computers that run the company, right? And as we get together as leaders, we're always thinking about what's the next thing we can do to help patients, whether that's an innovative molecule or it's taking some friction out of the process for them to get a therapy, or it's, what information can we make available to them or their physician to help them understand what's the best way to address their disease. And then the values that we have, really, I think in my way, they really help us continue to be an entrepreneurial, innovative company, even though we're as large as we are. We're in 100 countries and all of that. But working in teams, being science-based. And so I've been to Tampa now twice. Really like the environment that we've set up here. And what I think about when I look at especially the staff that are here, the one thing that I think our founders and all of our current leadership would want this to be is this is our era now. So I talked about the glorious history of Amgen. We continue to have millions, tens, hundreds of millions of patients around the world that need what we do. And coming into the company, this is a company that wants your unique contribution. You know, it's not just about what happened in the Ronald Reagan era for the company. We need to do what we've done historically and build upon it. And so Judy's going to talk a little more about what we're doing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Applied molecular genetics is actually the origin of the name Amgen, in case those of you are new to our story don't know that. And that science base comes through in everything we do. So I've only been here 9 months, so I'm a relative newbie in the Amgen family. And that science base that Mike talked about is prevalent in everything we do, and combined with a self-awareness of the future. So to Mike's point, we're not resting on our laurels and just thinking about the glory days in the 80s, but rather taking the learnings from our scientists, taking the base knowledge that they have, and putting it out there to reach tens of millions or hundreds of millions of new patients. So for those of you who are not as aware of our current portfolio, we have products in neuroscience, bone health, cardiovascular, oncology and hematology, nephrology, which is the origins, as well as products in inflammation. Some of you may have heard of Enbrel. Maybe some of you have mothers or female friends who are using Prolia. Prolia, a product to dramatically reduce the risk of osteoporotic fractures. 1 in 3 women over the age of 50 will have a bone fracture related to osteoporosis. Our scientists, our teams are passionate to reduce those numbers and reduce the risk for women. In cardiovascular, we have Repatha to dramatically reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease caused by high LDL counts. And we have other science going on to also focus on reducing the risk of cardio events. Over 600,000 cardiac events happen every year in the United States. Avoidable, high cost, dramatic damage to individuals and their families when such events happen. What I find very interesting, reflecting on what Mike said, is that thought of serving patients, the passion that everyone in our organization has, when you learn about the risks of asthma, which we're looking to treat, osteoporosis, various forms of cancer, cardiac risks. These are things that are affecting people in your families, potentially even yourselves. And to know that you're in an organization of scientists who are driven to find solutions and cures to these horrific diseases, that you can be part of that solution. That this site in Tampa is a capability center, driving innovative, efficient process to drive our R&D engines, our manufacturing engines, our sales engines, to enable our teams to reach more patients. Frankly, if that doesn't get you up in the morning, I don't know what does. This is an organization that truly can transform people's lives, and the roles that we all have here can really have an impact on society. We are committed to bending the curve. We are committed to really changing the face of global healthcare. A couple other things that are going on right now. For those of you who may have heard any of our public announcements recently, we will be making additional investments in the United States to enhance our manufacturing capabilities, to be able to produce those life-saving medicines to reach more patients. Mike made a comment earlier that we're in over 100 countries. While our revenues today are predominantly U.S., we are present in over 120 countries and are making significant investments around the world to reach more patients in more countries. The Capability Center here will be an important part of that. Being 3 time zones closer to Europe makes life a lot easier for our European colleagues who don't have to get on conference calls 9 time zones away with their colleagues in California. And the people here will be able to provide a closer link both to our LATAM colleagues as well as Europe. And this will be an important base to really prove that case for transformation that Amgen has gone through its global expansion. To be able to have one site with people working across functions, providing solutions to their customers. We are not a service center, we are a solution center. We have capabilities across many diverse activities through the company, and we look for those teams to really focus on ways to drive value, again, to come around for serving patients. With the financial stability and strong base that we have, to Mike's point, from a $35 million IPO to a market cap of, well, let's just say with the markets last week, over $135 billion, but I'll have to check right now. It's been a crazy market. Well-capitalized, positioned for growth. And as you can see when you tour the site today, innovative and transformative in the way we think about where we're going. So we're not trying to rest on our laurels. The site design, the way we interact with one another, it's very reflective of our transformative work in our California headquarters as well, where we are getting our teams to collaborate, to talk to one another, to move freely throughout the office. This is not the office of the future, of the past. This is the office of the future. We want you to engage. We want you to interact so that we can continue to bend the curve on healthcare, bend the curve in the way we interact, and set an example for the rest of the company that we can really, truly transform many things here in Tampa. So you'll hear Michael talk a little bit more about what we're doing at the Capability Center, but we are looking for this team to find new ways to provide cutting-edge analytics, new ways to collaborate, and really set a great example with patient centricity and helping serve patients. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone, for the kind words. So I always get the question, why Tampa? So I figured I'd go ahead and answer it. So we looked at, it's awesome, that's in a word. There's 388 metropolitan areas in the U.S. I'm pretty sure that given that we're science-based, we studied all of them. But we landed on a few reasons. You know, one is availability of talent. Two is the proximity to other locations. Three is other businesses doing what we're doing in the area. And the last is a great place to live and work. There's a lot going on here. Despite what you hear, the pirate invasion was not of the selection criteria. So the center and the city have been very good to Amgen. We've hired over 300 staff so far, and the recipe in these centers is a mix of Amgen institutional knowledge, other capability centers, biopharma experience, and other avenues, i.e. MacDill Air Force Base or USF new grad hiring. So you take those external experiences together, the internal experience of Amgen, and the output is something really great for Amgen and for the city of Tampa. So for all the 300 new hires, we thank you, Tampa, for the warm welcome and the great talent. We've hired over 20 vets from MacDill and other places, including 3 on the leadership team here at Amgen. So we're quite proud of that accomplishment. So a few other remarks. You know, we speak over 16 languages here in the center, but as Judy alluded to, the most important language we speak is data. So you hear me say often, speak with data to the team. The aggregate of the information that we have in the center is more powerful than the work being done itself. So we're encouraging using those patterns of data to enable the business to serve patients. Serving patients is the first thing you see when you walk in. It's the first thing you see, last thing you see before you leave for the day. So it's really baked into our culture here in the center. So a few, you know, I couldn't do this without thanking quite a few folks who've joined us today. First, you know, where's Adam Elenoff? Should be here. The key planner in this whole event. Without Adam, we wouldn't be here today. And then 7 months ago, standing in this space, there was absolutely nothing here. It was completely demolished, gray floors, no walls. walls, no electric, no plumbing. So thanks to the real estate team, Heidi, Jim, for creating the office of the future. You'll notice when you take the tour, as Judy said, there's no offices. You work where you like to work for the day. You dress how you need to dress for the day. And our joke is my office is always open because no one has an office. So you'll see that in the tour. So without the real estate team, we'd have nowhere to work. I also want to recognize the talent acquisition team. Bernard Benone flew in. So without the talent acquisition team, we wouldn't be able to get the 300+ staff that we've hired today. So there's also a series of contractors, suppliers, vendors, partners, city councils who help make this day possible. And I also want to recognize the elected officials and their representatives in attendance. So State Representative Sean Harrison is here. Representative Jackie Toledo is here. So City Councilman Mike Suarez is here today. From the Gus Bilrekis office, Dan Pash is here today. Stephen Gately from Congressman Dennis Ross's office. Dwayne Mallory from Congresswoman Kathy Castor's office. Melanie Hoyt from Senator Dana Young's office is here today. Cedric McCrae from Councilman Frank Reddick's office is here today. And of course, Jonathan Torres from Senator Rubio's office. So we're really thrilled with the turnout today. I'd like to offer the mic to Representative Sean Harrison and then Jackie Toledo to come say a few words.
Thank you. What a great day it is for Amgen. What a great day for the city of Tampa. I remember back in the 80s when the stock market was down in that $1,000 or $2,000 range or point range, and thinking how would it ever get to 3,000? And here we are today, and you guys are part of that process and that story. Believe it or not everything is as bad as it might seem in the newspapers about the relationship between the city of Tampa and the state legislature. We actually do get along fairly well. I had the pleasure of serving on the city council with Mayor Buckhorn when we were both younger. And I do think that Tampa is just really a phenomenal place to relocate for businesses, for families. The progress that we've made under the mayor's leadership has been amazing. And I think that laying the groundwork that he has, just the future is so bright for the city of Tampa, and we really do look forward in the legislature to working with you and helping however we can. I want to talk just very briefly about Amgen. One of the bills that I am sponsoring this session, is now my third session, is called step therapy. And those of you who are in the medical profession may know that step therapy is the process by which when your physician prescribes a certain medication to you, but your insurance company thinks that medication is a little too expensive, what they'll do is they will say, we will maybe someday cover that prescription, but first you got to start and go through these steps of sometimes weaker, a lot of times generic, but most often ineffective medication. And the purpose of that obviously is to save insurance companies money, and that's fine. But when there is potential for some real harm to befall that patient, we should be able to override that. So physicians and their insurance companies working in tandem with the pharmaceutical industry should be able to determine what's in the best interest of their patients. And so this is the third year we filed that bill. I'm happy to say it's gotten further than it's ever gotten in the legislature. We've got one more week of hearings, and if we can get it through that, then I'm sure we can pass it on the floor this year. So that will help your company. That will allow innovative pharmaceutical companies like Amgen to continue to put the capital investment into new drugs that you need to get that return on the profit that you're looking for, and keep your market shares out there and continue to serve patients. I'm familiar with some of those, as I'm getting to the point now in my age where I'm familiar with some of the medications that you all are talking about, and we want you to keep doing the great things you're doing. So welcome to Tampa. My colleague Jackie Toledo is here. This is actually her district that we're in. So Jackie, I'll turn it over to you if you'd like to say a few words. So thank you all for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I had no idea I'd be here today because we should be in Tallahassee, but I'm going to be leaving a little later. And I want to congratulate you and welcome to the Tampa family. We are so excited to have you join us because for me, I'm an engineer, so being data-driven really is exciting to me. I'm very honored that you guys chose Tampa, and I love the reasons that you chose Tampa. And my doors are always open to you. I want to make sure that the state of Florida is very business-friendly. So anything that we can do as your state officials to make it easier for you to succeed and grow in Florida, I would love to help you in any way, especially when you talk about manufacturing. If there's any way we can keep that in Florida, that would be great. And again, my doors are always open to you, and whether in Tallahassee or in my office, which is on Henderson Boulevard. I'd appreciate it if you can come join me. Thank you.
Would you come up and say a few words, Mike? Sure.
Thank you all. And if Jackie's surprised, I'm even more surprised. Once, the mayor speaks for the city, usually they don't let city councilmen speak. So thank you for allowing me to speak. One of the great things about your company coming here to Tampa is that this area, the West Shore area of Tampa, is really the place where innovation is not only beginning, but it's going to continue. Tampa is made up of a lot of diverse communities. I know that you know that already. You speak 16 languages here in this office, and in Tampa you will find not only English, Spanish, Creole, there's Spanglish, there is West Tampa English, which you don't know about yet, but you may discover. But it is a place where business comes. It is a place where business is done. It is a place where we know that you will feel welcome. We have been doing this for many, many years in terms of welcoming companies and making sure they grow. You will enjoy Tampa. We will enjoy having you here, and we appreciate the fact that you selected this international city to put your international company. And thank you again for letting me say a few words. Appreciate it.